This is Character Crusade number 19.
Production support is provided by Adobe. Adobe is the global leader in digital marketing and digital media solutions. Adobe's tools and services allow their customers to create groundbreaking digital content, deploy it across media and devices, measure and optimize it over time, and achieve greater business success. Adobe helps their customers make, manage, measure, and monetize their content across every channel and screen. Learn more at adobe.com.
You're listening to Character Crusade.
Greetings, Crusaders. You're listening to Character Crusade Skyrim Roleplay Workshop. I'm Stu.
And I'm Joe.
And I'm Matt.
And this is episode 19. Woohoo!
I'm really amazed we've made it to 19.
Yeah, nobody died. We've had some illnesses, but nothing serious.
Yep.
Nothing
serious.
Nothing communicable.
Yes.
No.
That's important.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
This is a rather small enclosed space.
It is. Breathe.
Yes.
Don't get past the little, whatever, acoustic panel thing.
Right. Well, we are, of course, entering into the winter months here in the great state of Minnesota. And we actually have a significant amount of snow on the ground as we speak, which means we are going into the winter months for the first time during this podcast. So what listeners can expect going forward is a lot of phlegm sounds, scratchy throats, probably some sneezing directly into the mic.
Maybe references to shoveling.
References to shoveling and back pain.
Back pain, definitely.
And traffic.
And traffic. And hernias and so forth. So
great. We got that to look forward to.
Got that to look forward to, yes.
It's a good thing we're a bunch of, teenagers. And
right.
We're not going to be here talking about gout and our goiters. And
yeah, speak for yourself. I have plans.
Still talk about it, I guess.
Oh, God.
Let me pull up WebMD real quick.
What is a goiter?
Do you think anyone in Skyrim has gout?
Oh, yeah, got to.
But they all look so fit.
They do, but it's got to be some of the older folk. I bet that Greymane dude, he's probably got gout.
Okay. Yeah. Are you talking about Battleborn, maybe? A name
Oh, yeah. Of course, that's who. Yeah, because he says about Grey. Yeah, Battleborn. He for sure does.
He's maybe got something worse.
Just a condition.
Yeah. Well, gosh, it's kind of amazing though when you think about it. I mean, all the people that live in the province of Skyrim, they really only have a couple of things to worry about. There's the rock joint
Well,
But
yeah.
there's a total of like 4 or 5 illnesses, right? Each
Right,
one
right.
associated with a different animal.
Vampirism.
All those unclean animals running around. If the fox bites you, you get something different than if the bear scratches you, than if the wolf bites you.
Which sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, there's alchemists that can help you out with that.
well, that's true.
I probably wouldn't know to go find an alchemist.
Ataxia.
Yeah,
That,
ataxia. That's skeevers.
what's her name in Whiterun? She's always willing to help you out with ataxia.
She's convinced you have it all the time.
All the time. I'm always checking my menu. Does she know something I don't?
Yeah, no,
I don't see any red text.
I know. She's like a grifter, you know. I just want to smack her. Like she's trying to get you to spend money you don't need to
Well,
spend.
if you think
Why
it's
not?
needed, like, okay.
What's really funny though is she asked me that once, and I went through her inventory to see if she had a cure disease potion for sale, and she didn't. What? Like, what the hell? You know,
Switching bait.
that makes no sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think somebody could make a mod that would kind of diversify some of the diseases available
Yeah.
in game.
Well,
so we have more
Available
choices.
diseases is not usually something people want to hear. No, I haven't had anything for a while. What have you got that I could try?
well, you could have the menu options to make it lethal, and I mean, that kind of
Yeah,
have
exactly.
measles and
Exactly.
and tetanus and
We've got everything you might possibly need here. Feel free to browse around. By the way, you look like you got the cock rot.
Just had that mahogany ring too long.
a medical term for that.
Yeah.
That's not possible. I sold the rooster weeks ago.
The goat. Oh, no.
I thought you said goat, not gout.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think there's any diseases you can get from goats biting you. Goats can't bite you in the game, can they?
No, they usually run away.
Which is ridiculous when you think about it.
How come
I think
none of
a
them
lot of
hop?
people have been bitten by goats.
They're brutal,
know.
little nasty, horrible things.
Have you ever been to the petting zoo? It's like carnage. It's like a war zone.
You need to go down to the one in Kansas, and then you can try to feed them and everything. And then they're
Bite your hand off.
dangerous, malicious little beasts that try to
Yeah.
eat your clothes.
What kind of petting zoos are you two going to?
All
Heavy
of them.
petting zoos. No, yeah, that would be camels and stuff. I'm talking goats, like where kids would go. And
Sorry. Oh my word, that was.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
I've never heard anybody call it a heavy.
I get on the mic and I just lose all reason. Well, let's on to other things. Now for something.
Well, now that I
completely
can't
different.
say anything, we've got other people who are telling us good things. Please
Oh,
be aware.
okay. Yes.
We haven't had reviews for a little while, so we have a couple of new reviews. They're actually from October and November, so we'll say thank you to these wonderful people. They say amazing things like, "This is a great podcast, guys. Thanks." Pat yourself on the back.
Straight
Come on.
to the point.
Absolutely. This is J1 Click from October. I knew nothing about RPG or Skyrim until a month ago, and now I'm hooked.
Right on.
I have learned so much from these guys about how to play an RPG and make the most of what Skyrim has to offer. Thanks, guys, and keep up the good work.
Yes.
Cool. Thank
That's
you.
great. We are like role play crack for your ears.
Something
crack.
like that.
Ear
Yeah.
crack.
Ear crack. I like
Yes.
that. He's not been listening to me. I haven't been helpful at all. You guys are really helpful. So thanks, J1 Click. All right. Joe's going to back up because I'm being too loud.
But it's not going to help because the earphones are
Are
like in my-
connected to your skull.
He's backing off his mic. Like that's gonna help him.
Whoa!
Oh,
Whoa! Whoa!
we're getting a
Ooh,
real
that's
cool
Dolby.
Doppler effect.
Yeah, nice.
Sweet. All right. We also have another from Hesmix. Cool name.
Chex Mix.
Hesmix, not
Oh,
Chex Mix.
I'm hungry. Is that pizza here yet?
You know,
A podcast for our.
too.
I'm going to get through this one of these days.
sorry.
Hesmix, not Chess Mix, and there's no pizza here yet.
Okay.
A podcast for RPG enthusiasts and newcomers alike. See, like me, newcomer. High quality audio, great discussions, and awesome guests. Don't say anything about us. The podcast has rekindled my love for role-playing in general. That's pretty sweet, actually. The insights given by the hosts are very thought-provoking and have me approaching role-playing in a different way. The guests have also been superb. I especially enjoyed listening to Corey Merchant, the host of the Elder Lore podcast.
Great.
Excellent.
Maybe we'll have to have Corey back.
Yes.
Yeah, we should try to contact Mr. Merchant.
Jessa and Alistair are going to be upset that they weren't named specifically by our reviewers.
Somehow I think they'll be okay.
They're going to have to bring it.
They'll be fine, I bet.
Yeah,
They will.
for sure.
Well, I would like to say thank you for the reviews and for the comments. We say this in every episode, but you really are the lifeblood of this podcast and the whole reason why we do it, aside from the fact that we're snowed in.
Well, not that bad.
Not yet.
It's a little skiffer, wasn't too bad.
We deal with 2 feet of snow really well. We don't deal with 5 inches of snow very well at all.
Well, yeah, when it melts and ices over on the road and they haven't done anything with them yet,
Yeah, you know,
it gets a little hairy.
Around here, you don't even really have to pay attention to the weather report. If I come into the parking lot and I see 50 cars with their windshield wipers sticking straight up, then I know someone's expecting snow.
Our whole parking lot was full of windshield wipers up in salute mode
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
I like to even do it in a parking ramp just because, just to show solidarity for those
He likes
people
to even
without
do it
heated
to other
parking.
people during the summer. Jackhole.
I used to do that to Joe all the time. Like,
Did you
I'd see his
really?
car in the parking lot and flip his wiper blades straight up.
That's great.
It took me weeks to figure out
Who was doing it?
who was doing it. I actually blamed someone else.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk NIM just a little bit, shall we?
I think we should
talk
talk about
NIMs.
NIM.
Let's get a NIM update. As you may have noticed in episode 18, there is no NIM continuation. That is...
At the moment.
Yes. We are working on a little bit of a project here, so let's get an update on where NIM is at, and then we're going to make an announcement about some additional opportunities you will have to participate in directing this story for upcoming episodes.
Participate.
Yes.
They love it when we tell them to
This
participate.
is all about audience participation. So what we know of NIM so far is that he has made it as far as kind of the central tundra of Skyrim. So right now we know that he is in a cave somewhere on the tundra between, say, Rorikstad and Whiterun. And so far what we have done is we have taken the voting to establish that NIM is... we know that he has some kind of, not an affiliation, but some kind of what would we call it?
Affinity?
Affinity, yeah. Yeah,
He
that's the
likes-
right word. He's got some kind of an affinity towards House Redoran. Okay? We also know from voting that folks have decided that NIM has a dark secret. And what we have since learned from the last round of voting is that NIM's dark secret has something to do with being an imposter. So, the
And we don't know
choices
how.
in the last round of voting were that he could be, was he an imposter? Was he a deserter? Was he a criminal? Or had he been dishonored? And the voting came down that NIM, his dark secret is that he's an imposter. He's not who he says he is. So, what we're going to do next is give you guys an opportunity to share with us some ideas about what this imposter scenario is. And we would like to frame this up with some rules so that we can kind of keep the submissions under control, because we would like to review these submissions in an upcoming episode so they can't be too long. We're going to limit these explanations to one paragraph, and you can submit those explanations of this imposter scenario to the Character Crusade Facebook page, which can be found at what, Matt?
Facebook.com/Character Crusade, Stu.
Excellent. And you can also find a link to our Facebook page at the bottom of every single page on the CharacterCrusade.com website.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, write up a paragraph, what you think this scenario is all about. what this kind of imposter scenario is. Remember, the idea is that Nim's dark secret is that he is not who he says he is. So write it up, submit it to the Facebook page. We'll take those for a couple of weeks, and then on a future episode, we'll read them and go through them. We'll have an opportunity to vote on those as well, and we'll keep this thing going. So that brings up the fact that we are going to be taking a little break over the holiday. We'll probably be taking an extra week off. So you are going to get some episodes here coming up in December, but then we're going to take about a 3-week break over the holidays and then come back in early January. So there will be a week there or so where normally there would be an episode. There's not going to be this time around.
Because we'll be partying.
Yeah, we're gonna be partying down, and I'm just gonna open all my new Transformers and just play with them. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's gonna be great. So anyway, that is what's going on there.
Autobots or Decepticons is the big question.
You know, I don't
Or do
know.
you have both? Epic
Honestly,
battle at home.
I've always thought the Decepticons were way cooler. You know, 'cause they're based on jets and things like that. I don't know. Here's my tractor, just Autobot. Yay! Transform into tractor.
I've got a combine over here.
Exactly.
Maybe we can hook up.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, they've got... Here comes the Decepticon. Dude, he's like a Chinook helicopter. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
How can the semi-truck even compete with the fighter jet?
Never
made sense to me.
steam engine.
Yeah.
Well, it's sentient robots from another planet, so I guess they're...
But if you're going to pick something and you happen to come to Earth
fine.
at about the same time, I guess you're stuck with whatever you bump into first, right? If the Decepticons happen to show up on a military base or at Area 51 or something, they had a better option than the guy who, I don't know, landed in International Falls in the 30s or something.
Here we are trying to apply rational thought to the Transformers, which is ridiculous.
Does your Transformers play have as much explosions as Michael Bay's Transformers?
Probably not.
No.
Well, anyway, back to this.
Yes, I'm reeling it in.
I won't probably have Transformers with me. I'm just going to be putting a lot of miles on the van over the holidays, so I'm glad I won't be taking all of the gear, but I will be taking the podcasts with me.
Excellent. So, in further news, thank you to all of you who left such wonderful comments on the 5 Fables project announcement. I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about what the 5 Fables is all about and what the plan is going forward. Essentially, 5 Fables is going to be a Couch Warrior TV Let's Live, kind of in the tradition of Einar Arcana. That is sort of the style of it. It is, I think, equal parts role play and gameplay footage. So it does not fit neatly into the Let's Play category. It also does not fit neatly into the role play category. So
Way to go. Ruin it again.
Very clearly my own style. But this story is going to start in January, and there will be additional announcements coming out right now. The idea was to announce the story, kind of give people a sense for what is going to be happening there. It's going to be multiple characters, multiple story threads, and it will probably be a level of sophistication that I wasn't able to attain with Einar Arcana. But there will be additional episodes I will be releasing as part of 5 Fables that will be kind of behind the scenes pieces or fourth wall breaking pieces. So my plan is that those will be released in stream with the story, but they will occupy their own playlist. So for those of you who don't want any inside scoop and don't want to break the fourth wall and want to stick with the story as it's being told, you can elect to not view those. But my objective would be that for every couple of episodes of that I release, I will also be doing some kind of a short behind the scenes type of video where I can talk about the things I want to talk about and answer questions and do all that kind of stuff. So that is going to be coming in January of 2016. So thank you to all of you who responded to that. It was unbelievable, the response that we got to that, like over 1,000 views in 8 hours. It was crazy. So it's really been wonderful, and I've been trying to follow the comments and trying to note those things that seem like good questions to get answered. So look for more announcements coming up soon about that, and we'll probably put something up on the website as some kind of a form that's specifically for 5 Fables, so you can submit questions and things like that that'll be addressed during those behind the scenes episodes. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Go watch it
Very
again.
excited.
I just watched it again this morning.
It's
fun.
Yeah, it
really is.
It's way too short because I'm like, okay, where's the rest? Okay, after this commercial break, no, crud, there's no more.
Yeah. Well, just, that video probably took me a month to create because at the same time I was creating that video, I was creating a lot of the assets that I'll be using in the story. So it took a while to create that, but it helped me kind of put together my thoughts and figure out, what am I going to do here? So it's going to be fairly sophisticated, and that's why I felt like I wanted to do some kind of an additional piece that was sort of a behind-the-scenes piece, because there's a lot of interesting things that are going into producing this, making the story work, and making it turn out like I wanted it to turn out. And I thought it'd be fun to share some of those things, because I think people will be able to use it in their own games, some of it anyway. And then it'll also spin off some other things, a discussion of, how to make your own NPCs and how to, do all these different things. So I think that'll be really fun going forward, and maybe a nice addition to some of the conversations we have here on the podcast as well.
Well, and with all those different layers and complexities that are going to probably be happening in here, also explains why the time frame's going to get shrunk. We're not going to see the 2-hour, movie episodes.
No.
Because there's no way that you could build out that type of multi-threaded storyline with all the different characters and have each one.
If all of us were doing this separately and bringing it all together, maybe. But I think the great idea behind it is that because there's so many possible storylines,
it keeps everything fresh in action all the time. So it'll be fun.
I think what's kind of fun about it too is with the behind the scenes pieces, I've put together a mind map that kind of lays out how the story pieces fit together. And as we get through episodes, I'm going to expose more and more of that mind map so people can see how things are woven together.
Nice.
That way they could use that technique if they wanted to set up their own something or other. It's a very simple thing to do. There's a lot of free apps for making mind maps
mapping,
and stuff like that, and it's a great way to sort of organize your thoughts around anything, and especially something like this. So I think it's worth mentioning that my objective here is not to stick with a set release schedule. I will not be releasing videos until videos are ready. Sometimes that'll mean 2 weeks. Sometimes that'll mean a month. I don't know. So what I would ask that you do is, if you're interested in the story, just subscribe to the playlist and let that be it. The episodes will come out when they come out, because I've decided that this is something I want to do, and if I want it to be a long-term thing and I really want to do it right, then it needs to fit into the larger framework of my life. So I think, if I have an episode that's 30 minutes long and it comes out in a week, awesome, but if I feel like the story I need to tell has to happen in a 2-hour episode, then look forward to 6 weeks of production time. You know what I mean? It's just that's what it is. So better to do that than to get frustrated and quit. That's my view. So that's going to be the rule going forward.
I would think that if we had some sort of benevolent benefactor who just wanted to provide you with unlimited money and burritos and whatever else to get you to stay in front of your machine all the time, and Starbucks, and a dedicated video editing team and all that, it would be different. But
Yeah, absolutely.
not yet.
Exactly.
But for any of those benefactors that are looking for something to do,
Don't have
feel free to let us
any
know.
idea what to do with this large amount of money sitting in their pocket.
Yes.
Well, all these people who win, lotteries and stuff like that, they blow it on friends that they never had. We could be those friends that they never had.
I did buy a lottery ticket, actually. So, come Wednesday, we should be golden.
That's great.
I don't see how that could possibly fail.
I am so looking forward to that.
I like the odds. That's great. Our odds are one better than they were the other day.
I know.
I have a feeling that if Joe won the lottery, we'd hear a message from him that says, "Hey guys, have fun with the podcast. I'm moving to my own island. I'll call in sometime.
Let's Skype.
No.
Let's Skype."
Right. Okay, well, I think that does it for announcements. So next up is going to be a brief character craft segment. So let's get into it. Music, transitional music. Now let's wait for the pizza.
So what are we doing now?
Right now, we are going to do character craft, which is absolutely going to be amazeballs because it has been a long time since we did character craft. So I'm sure that there is much to discuss for everyone except me. So
You're funny.
I know.
This might be the Joe show.
I'll have a few things to put in here.
I'm gonna give a couple of quick updates here in the beginning, just because it'll be very brief.
Let's do it.
All right,
The new guy really sucks at magic, right? I wanted to do a character that was all magic.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that's
now
right.
I sympathize with Alistair, who says, "No, I have great ambitions to do this." You can't do anything at all as a level 1 with no weapons if you're
is
just
hard.
trying to be Magic Man.
Yeah, it's really hard.
So I have set aside the elf character just from a magic perspective because we need to have a conversation about what it is to level up at some point, because I'm just not getting it enough to really be effective. And so we'll come back
it's
to that,
hard.
but I don't want to dive too much in because there's so much more other better stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in play theory, right? A little bit more about leveling up, what to do when you get those leveling opportunities. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And so Einar Stingandr's been getting a lot more playtime, which has been good.
That's all right,
Some
yeah.
folks on the Facebook page have
Right.
seen,
haven't heard much from Einar, so
so we'll get a little bit more updates and maybe some footage and pictures from him in probably
Nice.
the next episode. But thanks to people, especially Matt in Connecticut, for sending action figure pictures for us to see on Facebook. You will note that it's not the Naked Nord it wants to be, but
oh well.
I don't think Bethesda was thinking out of the box like that.
Well, I'm glad you've
there's a lot of other people that have
come back to Einar Stingandr. That's cool.
Well,
Yeah,
he
that is-
deserves
that's
a
good.
little bit more work.
Yeah,
you know?
That's
Looking
fun.
forward to actually hearing more about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So beyond that, it's just a matter of just trying to play through without trying to get extra stuff, no console commands to get extra weapons. I'm just trying to
Right.
play through again. Now that I've got quite a bit more experience, he's had a bit of a rest.
Right.
So that experience gets to be brought to bear. But again, you guys will send
Awesome.
notes back and forth to each other that, oh yeah, I've gone from level 7 to 32 since yesterday. And I'm like,
Maybe not quite that much.
that's what it feels like to me. And so trying to explain to my kids the other day what it was to be a newbie. And they're like, well, what does that even mean? And I said, someone who's new to something. Call it a noob. And because they watch tons of Minecraft stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, Dad, you're a noob? Yeah. Dad's a noob.
Yes, I am.
So anyway, that's all my updates. There will be much more
Cool.
next time.
All right.
All right.
Cool. What you got, Joe?
Oh, boy. I've got papers and papers of things.
Oh gosh. Do we need to start a timer?
No, I have been doing a lot of playing lately.
Okay.
Ienaraths is up to 51 now.
See what I mean?
Shoot.
Yeah, she's been. I've been rocking with her. So,
Yeah.
but so she has gone through the Mage's quest line, completed that,
Okay.
and I've done a lot of little oddball side quests, like Lost Knife.
Sure.
Ridge and the caverns and Fort Amal. I cleared that out.
Okay.
And now I'm drawing a blank. Which one is that? It is Frost. No, Felglow.
Felglow. Oh,
Yeah,
that's significant.
that is very significant.
Yeah, that was the place. That was her old murder that she wanted to stay away from
That's
for a while.
right.
Ooh.
That's right. So that actually came up really interestingly because when I was doing some of the quests for the mages, there is a part in there where you have to go get some books.
Right.
Guess what those books are?
Felglow.
Felglow.
Yes.
So she was actually fairly excited about that.
Nice.
So I as everyone knows, I do a lot of writing in game. I probably spend a great deal of my time just writing in game. So I actually printed off a few of her entries.
I think that's
and-
fantastic.
Yeah.
I really do.
Now, have you put these up on the website yet?
No.
Okay.
Might they make it there someday, Joe?
Yeah, I think they might. I would need to clean them up a little bit just so they're more presentable, because in Take Notes they come through as either a text file if you export them or through an XML file.
Right.
And I can deal with those, but I just haven't done
Yeah.
anything to make the format look pretty. So
Okay.
but I was going to start off and just to get, I guess, as part of the character update, to give more of a kind of a feel for the character and her thoughts as I play her. I'm going to read a couple of her entries. And
Do it.
I have like 3 1/4 pages printed out, and that's stripped down even for those entries. But
Okay. Insert mood music here.
so,
Do you need a light?
no, I should be all right.
All right.
So we'll start with the very first one. And
I was going to sing behind you, but I'll
Okay,
not.
great. That'd be awesome. 2nd of Frostfall, 4th Era 201 is the date. I've decided to keep a journal. It's as much calming activity as anything. Plus, I think it might be nice to look back on someday, when I am Queen of Skyrim, when I sit at her side. Also, this is really the first time in almost 2 months since I was left for dead by the caller that I've felt safe enough to take time to reflect. That is entry number 1.
Okay. And the caller is significant because
Caller is significant.
that is the leader of that group of
Group of
necromancers in Felglow.
Felglow, correct.
I like it. Direct reference.
Direct
That's
reference.
awesome.
This is kind of a long one. I don't know if maybe I should go through this one or not. This is entry number 22.
Okay.
And this is actually something that I think you read and we referenced a couple of weeks ago on kind of her seductive nature and her how she uses her sensuality to her effect. So I'm going to read through that.
Okay.
Violet came back today from the little goodwill expedition that I had sent her on a few days ago. We must present the best face to those that surround Windhelm, after all, mustn't we? Windhelm and all of Eastmarch will burn. But back to Violet. It never fails. Whenever I pass her, she asks if she can help me by sharpening my blade or fixing my shoulder plate. She's a blacksmith's widow, but I never really thought that she might actually have worked alongside her late husband. So on a lark, I gave her a blade that I'd found that I rather liked the shape and color of, and told her to improve it for me. And then there's a little bit I snipped out. I went back to pick up my blade from Violet today. She was in the inn, and the mood was quite jovial. It pleases me to see my subjects happy. As I walked towards Violet, she rose and from her seat picked up a scabbard as she did. Ah, your sword is ready. she said. I hope it's to your liking. It truly is a beautiful work of art, a weapon fit for royalty. She unsheathed it, held the blade upon her palms, and offered it to me. And with a bit of mirth in her voice, she said, "Your blade, my queen." I was reaching for the weapon, but paused when she said this, my fingers resting gingerly upon the inlaid handle. Her smile quickly faded when she realized that I was not going to pick up the blade. She began to tremble ever so slightly, not wanting to move for fear of dropping the sword. She was held fast in place. I stepped closer, not yet grabbing the blade. "I'm sorry, my lady. I meant nothing. Please, I beg your forgiveness." I wrapped my hand around the hilt, but did not carry any of the weight. I did not want Violet to move quite yet. It was smooth and warm and fit my hand perfectly. I knew then her work was superior. With the back edge of the blade facing me, I quickly brought the flat up underneath her jaw. She whimpered and flinched slightly, but otherwise did not move. I could see tears welling up in her beautiful green eyes. Tipping the blade slightly, I forced her to look at me, and when our eyes met, I smiled softly as I could and said, as tears began to stream down her cheeks, bending to the corners of her mouth, before falling to the floor, "My dear Lady Hayes, it is right for you to call me queen, for I am a queen. I am queen of Blackreach. This is my realm. I am queen of the deep, its master, and all who enter do so at their own peril. You needn't fear me, Lady Hayes," I continued. Excuse me. At this point, using the blade beneath her jaw, I stood her to her full height, and with her gaze fixed upon mine, I drew her in close. Our faces nearly touching, my blade still leveraged upon her. I playfully battered her nose with mine. Then I leaned in and kissed her softly on the lips. I can feel her quivering lips upon mine. I can still taste the salt of her tears. Before I withdrew, I removed the blade from her throat and slid my free hand under her hair. With her eyes still focused on me, I left my left hand firmly grasping her by the hair. I gently pulled her head back. I could hear the blood rushing through her veins. Entry number 23. The smell of her was intoxicating. I put my mouth to her neck, caressing her skin with my fangs, even scratching her so gently. It took all my willpower to stop, but I did. I withdrew once more, keeping hold of her hair, however. Then I spoke once again. "My lady, you have been nothing but the most loyal and willing servant. You have represented me as my emissary to Winterhold when asked, and have done so flawlessly. And now you prove your worth as a most skilled smith. You needn't weep, for you are much too important to me. You are, in fact, an essential part of my court." And then, looking her straight in the eyes, I said slowly, clearly, and loud enough for all to hear, "I shall not let any harm come to you." And with that, I walked her backwards until the back of her knees met a chair. I pushed her gently downward until seated. When she was released, I released my grip from her. When she was seated, I released my grip from her. I then looked at my sword and sheathed it. The room was silent when I left. Even that asshole Dunmer Aravan had nothing to say. Well, that's not entirely true. He was able to stammer out, "Allow me, my queen," as he stumbled to open the door for me. It's been a good day.
That's great.
That is awesome. Okay, a couple things. First of all, really, really great. Like this, yeah. I mean, this is an example of what we were talking about before, like a vignette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing captures who your character really is like dialogue. I mean, holy cow!
This whole thing would have lasted like less than a minute.
Yeah.
Would have been quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
But
mean,
it's a window into her character. It's a window into the way that she reacts,
Yeah.
the things that she's thinking. That's incredible.
what I like about it too is like it's a really subtle transformational moment. It's that point at which she decides, okay, I am a queen. I am a queen. She decides that, oh, somebody has called me queen, and in fact, I am. I deserve it. And she takes on that mantle, right? Decides that that's going to be who she is.
It's
really cool.
actually kind of interesting because when I first start out, she references herself in her very first entry as someone who is going to be Queen of Skyrim. And if you didn't catch it, the her she implied or who she was meaning was Mehrunes.
Okay.
That's who she is going to be seated beside.
Okay.
And she refers to Mehrunes as a her.
Got it.
Even though the princes are neither.
Yeah, that's her mythos, right? That's her. Yeah, and I think the other thing that's interesting here is you've built into your story the Caller, which is
Oh, I've got a good one for that.
a small a small kind of bit part character from vanilla Skyrim, which I love. You're drawing directly from the game as part of your story, which makes it possible for you to have that confrontational moment, have
and it makes
real
it a lot
person,
more
right?
interesting, a lot more fun.
Yep.
Because there's a reason.
Yep. And the character that you're referring to, Victoria Hayes,
Yep.
she is an NPC that comes from Tundra Defense.
Correct.
Aravan is a character that comes from interesting NPCs.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you're taking the vanilla game and you're pulling in characters that are provided by these other mods and making them part of your story and referencing them directly using another mod that allows you to write in-game, which is super cool. I just think, when you got halfway through that story, I got a little goosebumps because you could see how it was playing out, and you could see how she was changing psychologically, how she transformed in that split second.
And
which is very cool.
She took that moment as a time that, because there was all of her followers were gathered in that room, so it was a very pointed moment to express to them all at once without saying anything to them directly of who she feels she is and who she expects them to be.
And she doesn't have to tell them all now.
No, they all get it.
She can let Lady Hayes do that.
Exactly.
So Lady Hayes does go on to get a little bit more favor as her first member of her court, which I did skip through.
I like that too, how it goes from the beginning to being, she's referring to her followers as her subjects, and she refers to them in the end as her court. She's really taking on this idea of portraying herself as royalty. I mean, it's one of those deals like, with an athlete, right? Prior to a competition, you sit down and envision yourself winning. You picture in your head what that victory looks like and the steps to get there. I kind of see her as doing the same thing here. She's got a goal, and you're never going to be queen unless you start acting like it.
Right.
It's very cool.
But in the way that you're writing, it doesn't sound megalomaniacal, right? I mean, you get a lot of people who are just going to slash and do whatever they have to do to get there. Just the way that she's writing, the way that she's introducing herself to other people is...
I see her as a type of character that's very methodical and very thoughtful of everything she does. There's a reason. So, and I'm going to go through and just go over the entry I have for her time at Felglow, since we mentioned that.
Okay.
And then I'll call it good there. So this was kind of fun. So the mages want me to fetch some books. Well, guess where those books are? Felglow. My old stomping grounds. That fucking collar will pay for leaving me to die. Felglow was everything I remembered it to be. Cold, sprawling, and full of garbage. I snuck in and one by one eliminated each and every necromancer there. I don't believe they expected a vampire to come knocking. I especially enjoyed draining Sifkney, Felgrim, and Rolgby of every last drop of blood. They were the worst, horrid people that deserved every bit of suffering they got. And then there's the caller. That bitch. At first, she didn't recognize me. And then it began to dawn on her who I was. She was surprised, I could tell, and a bit afraid. Take the books, she said when I told her what I was after, as if that's all I came for. She then turned her back on me, a fatal mistake. I took her down with one shot of my crossbow, and then my summoned Dremora did the rest. She was so weak and pathetic, I can't believe that I looked up to her. And when all was still, I savored every last drop of her blood, and then I tore her remains apart, harvesting her innards. What could not be harvested, I burned. The smell was intoxicating, like incense on a day of worship. I spent the next day or so harvesting bones and flesh from the rest of them, destroying what I could not be salvaged, except for the heads and hearts of Sifkni, Felgrim, and Rolgby. I have special plans for them. With the bones carefully prepared all about me, I arranged enough of them to assemble 2 full skeletons, for that is all the empty soul gems that I had. I made the incantations and cast the spell to reconstitute the 2 skeletons, making damn sure that one of them was conjured from the remains of the caller. She now serves me. I sit in Felglow writing this entry, unable to contain my laughter at how pathetic each and every one of them was. Weak and utterly clueless. I should thank them, really, though. If they had not abandoned me in Blackreach, I would not know my potential, what true power was, and what real survival could do for a person. Tonight, I will stuff the heads of Sifkni, Felgrim, and Rolby, jamming each one's heart in their mouths. And then I will roast their heads along with the flesh from the others over a spit. I have not consumed flesh in a long time, but tonight I feast. Felglow now belongs to me.
Nice. Nice. I love that. What a great revenge story. I mean, awesome. And okay, can we dissect this now?
How's that for contrast on the first couple entries?
Freaking awesome. No,
Oh, she's such a sweetie.
she's a boss,
Stuff
man.
their heart into their own mouth and roast them and eat them.
Right.
Pretty much.
So here you're using
don't
you're
go on
using
a date
stuff
with her.
from Percus Maximus that
Yep.
allows you to harvest the remains of the dead and then reanimate them as skeleton followers, right?
Yes, that's that is part of the conjuration tree in Percus.
Yeah.
And
I just love it.
yeah. So that would all
Just
come
love
because I'm trying to think if any of it would have come from Hunterborn, but I don't think so.
Right.
That's just more or less the animals.
Wow. You have really really connected with this character. I remember
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah,
with
when we started out, we were talking about Hinto, and Hinto kind of fell apart for you, and
He did.
You picked her up, and it was just kind of like I remember, you were telling me one afternoon, yeah, I'm going to create a new character, somebody dark, da 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 da, right? And then
Right.
the next time I heard from you, yeah, she's level 7. I'm like, okay, well, now here we are at level 51.
Mm-hmm.
So. What I like about this, right, is you have this stopping point in the middle where you get your revenge, right? You've kind of you've tied up that loose end, but you've also established for yourself this larger goal of being queen of Skyrim. So even though you're at level 51, even though you've killed everybody in Felglow and gotten your revenge, your story's not over.
No, it's far from it. She has a lot of work to do. She has, through, what's the mod that I'm using that's allowing me to send them? Oh, Guild Starter.
Okay.
So what I've been doing in game is I've been sending my subjects primarily on goodwill tours
Okay.
to Winterhold. And now Whiterun, and basically all of the areas that surround Windhelm.
Okay. Well, that makes sense too, right?
So she is trying to butter up those surrounding holds. And now that she's completed the mage's quest line, she's installed Tolfdir as the Archmage.
Ah.
So,
okay.
because she has his ear,
Okay.
and
And
she doesn't have time to be an Archmage.
what mod is it that you're using to install him as Archmage instead of yourself?
That's a really good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
It is coming from a mod, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, so we'll get
make sure
that.
it's in
So basically, she sees that Whiterun, she picked up a follower from the companions. And so she's going to use him as kind of her companion Whiterun emissary.
there. Okay.
And then now she's got her puppet installed as Archmage in Winterhold.
Yep.
And then she has been doing some ill will tours directly towards Windhelm.
Oh. Okay. So she's building goodwill with all the holds that surround Windhelm, essentially isolating them, and then she's wreaking havoc inside Windhelm.
Right.
Wow. And this comes from the sense of outrage she has about how the Dunmer are being treated there, right? Is that where that comes from, or where is
in a sense, she blames a lot of the ill that befell her early in her, when she was young, on Ulfric.
Okay.
And then having gone back to Windhelm just recently, and seeing really how the Dunmer are treated and how everyone's treated if you're not a Nord, it's only strengthened her hatred of the Stormcloaks, of Ulfric in particular.
Okay.
Yeah, she holds him responsible, rightly or wrongly, for a lot of the ill that she has been privy to.
Okay.
Privy's
So
not a good word, but
then what is your next step in terms of quest progression? Based on the storyline playing out in your head and on paper, what is she doing next then?
Winterhold, the Mages College, was kind of a whim, but it proved to be a good quest for her. And right now, I believe she's going to focus or try to refocus on the assassins.
Okay.
Her thought process is, I need to understand and learn what the assassins know so that I can apply it when I'm ready to advance on Windhelm.
Okay.
I need their secrets.
And you haven't done the Civil War quest
And I
line.
have not. That'll be kind of the end game, really, for this character.
Kind of sounds like it.
Although I'll have to kick it off because she'll probably also delve into the Dragonborn quest line. Because I've hinted to that in other entries that she can read it, but she doesn't understand, and she wants to understand what these word walls are doing when she comes upon them.
Okay.
So she may delve into the Dragonborn.
Okay, so you're talking not Dragonborn DLC,
No.
but the dragons,
The main quest line,
the
yeah.
Elduin quest line. Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
So she might do that, but in order to do that, that might inadvertently kick off. Well, no, that shouldn't. I take that back. I was thinking of it in reverse. In order to kick off the Civil War, you inadvertently have to kick off the Dragonborn because of the bantering back and forth between Ulfric and the Jarl Bolgrof.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Because you have
interplay
that
between them.
sword that you have to do.
Yeah, the whole thing with
And I think that dialogue triggers some of the Dragonborn stuff. I
don't know.
It's been a while since I've done it, so I shouldn't say for certain, but I thought that it did. But that's neither here nor there.
I think the deal is that there's a bit of content in the middle of the Alduin quest line that is available to you if you haven't completed the Civil War quest line yet.
Oh, that could be.
So what happens there, I think, is that if you haven't completed the Civil War quest line,
do you get the option to...
You get the option to try to mediate a settlement.
That's right.
Between the Stormcloaks and the Imperials.
Right.
If you've already finished the Civil War quest line, all of that content is just skipped.
Okay. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
My recommendation to those of you who are just starting Skyrim or haven't tried it yet, work through the Alduin quest line for a while. Give yourself an opportunity to have a look at this content because it's really interesting. You get an opportunity to meet with Ulfric.
Yeah, you meet up in High Hrothgar, if I remember.
Well, yeah, you go and you meet independently with Ulfric.
Yes.
And then you go and you talk to General Tullius, and you talk them into coming to a summit. And then you also talk the Greybeards into hosting the summit. And so everybody comes up to the top of the throat of the world, and there's a big meeting where the Dragonborn mediates a session between these two opposing groups to try to come up with some kind of a peace treaty. It's very interesting. I really love it as a piece of content. It's really wonderful to work through it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I think Assassin's Quest next.
Yeah.
Maybe Dragonborn. And then I might, with that, I don't know, I might even expand to Solstheim first. We'll see how it plays out.
Right.
She might need to find out about this Mirac, because with the DLC installed, if she kicks off Dragonborn, she's going to start getting cultists eventually.
Yep.
So she's going to want to nip that in the bud.
Right away, actually.
And then, and then probably Civil War after that.
Well, that's great.
So
Very cool. I love it. I love it.
So there she is.
That's a terrific update.
Not a complicated character at all.
No.
So nice when
she's
everybody
got some
wears
things
everything right
going
on their
on.
sleeve.
Oh yeah, no issues.
Well, my update is not quite as colorful as all that.
Don't you have journal entries?
You know what? I sort of do, actually, but all of my content is captured in either outline or list format or in a mind map and embedded in Evernote. So most of my game time actually lately has been spent doing experimentation, gathering the footage that I needed for the prologue, and figuring out how this story is going to work. So I've been playing a little bit of all of my characters and learning a lot of things about. I've basically saved all those characters' facial traits out as presets.
I still need to do that.
I've got those all backed up, and then I have also recreated not all but a number of those characters as independent NPCs and save them out as separate mods. All of this stuff is preparation for telling the 5 Fables story. So right now, as I prepare to put all of that together and hopefully, put out the first episode in January, I'm focused on really kind of rebuilding the PC, rebuilding all of the profiles, making sure everything is running as smoothly as it possibly can, and I'm running the most efficient game I can, because I know that as the story advances, I'll be introducing additional mods and additional characters, and things are only going to get more complex. So I have to have a really kind of pristine setup going in to be sure that I've got any hope of finishing at some point when things are really getting crazy. So I've been working a lot on that. So I've been just kind of learning an awful lot about clean game setup, learning how to clean mods, building a lot of my own mods to support the story, learning a lot about load order and all the step guidelines, things like that. So
I think what's good to know is that even with all the experience that you bring to the podcast and into Skyrim, that you're still learning. That it isn't something that you stop doing.
No,
there's
it's so easy to say, "Oh, I've been there. I know how to do it. It's not a problem."
Yeah. There has been so much to learn. I mean, I've been playing Skyrim a long time now and modding it for a long time, but even so, I'm constantly learning. And I think, I'm sure in the near future here, we're going to do an episode that's really all about clean game setup and specifically the step guidelines.
More technical aspects.
Yeah, technical stuff. In fact, we have been having some great sidebar discussions with Michael from Gamer Poets, and he is going to join us in a podcast to help, kick off 2016. And we're going to talk about nothing but step guidelines and running mods and clean games and game stability and mod organizer and all these great kind of technical details, and help, squash some of the bugs that really, I think, plague a lot of people's games and can really impact how much enjoyment you get from the game, especially for those of us who like to run a lot of mods. So what I've been doing is really focusing on thinking through the structure of this. So I know that I have that this is a story that I'm going to tell from the perspective of 5 characters. However, it's not going to be just 5 characters. There will also be additional characters that are side characters. So we know that our narrator is Spurious Teufel. He has to be created as a separate character. There will be things from his perspective. We can expect that there's going to be several antagonists in the story. We need their perspective also. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of gathering up these characters and I'm thinking, okay, what is the base setup for my world? What are the things that all these characters are going to have in common? So kind of looking at, I'm going to use a consistent ENB across all characters. I'm going to use consistent textures and grass mods and weather mods and stuff across all characters. And so essentially what I'm doing is standardizing all of that and creating a base game profile that has all the base mods in it for the story. And then once I have that, I know that all of my characters are going to adhere to this setup, which means I only need to patch once. I only need to run Finis once. Every time I do the patch, I can use the same patch for every character in the story. I don't have to have a separate patch for every character.
Nice.
And there will be some characters that have a few mods that others don't have, but there'll be ancillary ones that are just there for the purpose of, telling parts of the story, for maybe a cinematic shot or something like that. So anyway, there is a lot that kind of just goes into that. I think at this point I'm estimating that the story will probably revolve around a base that consists of about 150 mods at this point. And then there'll be a few additions that'll go.
It's kind of funny because I think Matt and I were about to have opposite reactions.
Oh,
you're gonna like it. Well, why are you limiting to 150?
Well,
right?
I was gonna say, okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
And Matt's like, oh my god,
150, dude, that's like a lot of stairs to climb.
Joe knows that I'm paring it back when I say 150 because I've run in excess of 200 mods in some games, but I think in order to keep it clean, it's kind of like I have to say, what do I want the world to look like? I'm going to have this water mod, check. I'm going to have this lighting mod, check. I'm going to have this grass and terrain mod, check. And I standardize those things, and everybody gets the same
treatment. To do that 150 times, it's, I think that the luminosity of the snail shell in this particular type of moonlight, I don't know what kind of level it actually gets to. And when we go through the technical aspects of setup and setting up a clean game, to be able to see some of the changes side by side somehow, to have you build yours and to have me run mine, and to say, this is the difference that you see from the same place, from the characters. This is what you'll see that's different.
Well, it's been a super interesting exercise because what I did is I created separate profiles for these different setups, and the profiles aren't based on character names. The profiles are based on mods in the rotation. So I have one profile that I just call Tamriel Wilderness. And that is the profile that has nothing in it but the world-focused mods, the mods that are going to create the environment in which the action happens. So if I ever want to test that, all I need to do is load the Tamriel Wilderness profile, go in there and create a generic character, and then just trot out into the countryside and look at how things are looking, you know, and see what it's looking like for me. And then I know, okay, I got my base. And so then what I did is I created a new profile by duplicating my Wilderness and Tamriel profile, right? Now my second profile has all the base stuff that I know I need in my world, and now I start adding to it. Now I'm going to add on to this new profile all the things that are going to create my character look. So all of my upgraded skin textures, race menu, all the tattoos, all the eye texture replacement, all the meshes, all the beards, all the mods that make the characters look how they need to look. And that's a separate profile. And I create a generic character in there, take him into the world, dress him up and say, okay, that looks like I need it to look, right? Mm-hmm. And then keep moving forward that way.
Right.
So at any point, I can go back and test each individual setup.
Right.
But each new profile is built on the previous.
Gotcha.
And so I've got a whole, each one of those profiles has a character in it, a generic character called Chester Tester. And so I've got like 5 or 6 versions of Chester Tester who are running around Skyrim testing different things, right?
Nice.
Until at the very end, I finally have my final version of Chester Tester, who has all of that stuff. And then he also has Purkis and a Purkis patch and all that stuff.
Cool.
So that's how I've been kind of making my way through methodically. And it gives me a chance to also do things like I can basically try something like textures from the Vivid Textures setup.
Sure.
I can create a generic character, go in and test it, see what kind of frames I'm getting. Then I can pull that out and turn on Skyrim 2K HD textures. And I can create a new character, take him to the same spot, measure my frames per second, and see which one's performing better for me and which one's looking better.
Right.
In some cases, I'm making a decision based on performance. In some cases, I'm making a decision based on how things look. And so it allows me to do that kind of testing without royally screwing up a saved game or anything like that,
Right.
because I don't care about any of Chester's games.
Right.
I'm going to toss the ones that aren't working, and in the end, save the ones that are looking how I need them to. So,
I mean, it's a time-consuming process, but it really gives you a very finite, or a good level of control.
Yeah, and it gives you data to work with. So you can
Right.
you can actually say, I have decided that I'm going to use enhanced lights and effects instead of realistic lighting overhaul because I thought it looked better when I went into this environment or whatever it was, right? So those decisions are being made based on some real information, which is I actually got in and looked at it. So
And that's a lot easier to do when you have it calculated down to what's doing what.
Yep. So the fact is, my whole game experience lately has all been from Chester's perspective. And
Well, I look forward to hearing more about Chester.
yeah, Chester's,
Is he
he's
still level 1?
He's a really great guy. In one instance he's a Bosmer, in another he's an Imperial, in a third he's Breton.
All right.
So I've been making different Chesters.
So incredibly experienced test pilot.
Very much so, yes.
I wanted to throw out a Doctor Who reference, but I couldn't remember the name of the creature that can change their visual look.
Oh, is it a chameleon? Not when it's a specific Doctor Who character.
Yes,
though.
it's specific to them. So,
Yeah.
one nerd point lost. Sorry.
What are you going to do?
Everyone on the other end is shouting it out loud. We should be able to hear it by now.
Well, the other thing that this has allowed me to do, though, is it's a great mechanism now for going in and creating some things as experiments. So if I need to create a new character that's going to play a role in the game, I can create a sample, I can get his look right and say, okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. And then I can save out the preset and archive that, and I've got it. So
How long does it take to pull something up from an archive?
not long at all.
Okay.
Not long at all. So
I will learn soon.
yeah. What's interesting is in Skyrim, if you're playing on the PC, once you go through the initial character creation process and then you're actually in game for the first time after you've created your character's look, all you got to do is open the console, and you can type in SPF space and then a character name, and hit enter, and then close console. And then all you have to do is, once you're out of the game, you can navigate into the Skyrim file hive. So you're, going Steam apps, Commons, Skyrim. Inside the Skyrim folder, you will find a file with the character's name. I think it's like a, PSC file or something like that. And that is the character's facial data. In fact, I think it's probably storing more than just the facial data. If you've changed the height of your character and the weight,
Right.
it records all that stuff too.
Cool.
And then you just back it up somewhere until you need it. And what you're able to do then is that at any point, you can create a new game with any kind of generic character you want to. And if you have the race menu mod loaded, you can export that, or you can import that data, and it'll just create a new character with that data. You can also use that same file inside of Creation Kit to do the same thing. So what I've been doing is creating characters in game so they look how I want them to look, noting the mods, of course, that I'm using to support that look, which is in my base game setup. Then I can go into Creation Kit, create a new NPC, import that facial data, and boom, I've got an NPC that looks just like Robard. And I can save him out as a mod,
Nice.
and I got it, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's really not that difficult to do, and I highly recommend if you're interested in modding your game at all, go check out YouTube channel Dark Fox 127. He's got some really terrific and comprehensive modding videos. Well, that was pretty epic character craft, I gotta say.
Well, long overdue, but
Long overdue. It's so much fun. This is like the meat of this podcast, I think, just talking about characters. So
well, yeah, that's what makes it fun, right?
yeah. So hey, we're going to talk about leveling up, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Right
so
now.
leveling up in the play theory segment. Stick around. Hey man, it's time for play theory.
Play theory.
Okay, cue the play theory theme music. You know what? We're going to talk a little bit today about leveling. This was at the request of Matt, who is in the midst of some leveling conflagration right
There is
now.
no level 0.
Is that a word?
Conflagration?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a word I love.
Because as a fireman, you don't want conflagration, but it's an awesome fire-related word.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
that would be why I didn't know it.
Yes. And when you're in the midst of a conflagration, it is an awesome looking fire.
It is.
Just stay away.
You better hope that you're the one with the nozzle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Okay, more firefighter references here.
Learned something new today.
characters say-
Conflagration.
Conflagration. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think probably the best way to start off this discussion is to have you, Matt, kind of restate your question here for the audience, and let's just hit it.
So the basis for my question comes from having played a lot of hours and coming in and seeing you guys have leveled up 3-4 times faster than I have. I don't know if it's because I'm not doing enough skills or enough trying different things or going to different places or killing enough people or whatever it is, what is it that causes you to be able to level up more? Every time I see there's a level up opportunity, I try to go do that, right? Because I sort of figure I don't want to miss the opportunity.
Right.
Well, on top of that you don't have to take it. They'll build. So I do that actually quite a lot. If I level up and I'm not ready to do that yet, I'll just keep letting it build. And when I finally do, sometimes I'll have 2, maybe even 3 levels saved up in there.
Which would be a good idea. Again, it's one of those, hey.
But that's really on your gameplay and what you're doing. Like yourself, sometimes you just want to spend that perk, or you want to level it.
I think it also depends a lot too on what kind of character you're playing and what quest lines you're involved in.
Right.
Because one of the things I'm doing, for example, is in some of my recent gameplay, I've been playing a new character. Incidentally, his name is Chester. And so Chester is I created
Chester
him.
molester.
I created him straight up like first level, and I think he's level 14 now. Okay, and he's a test character, right? But here's the thing, right?
But you're finishing quests, right? I think that I've got like 11 quests going on, and none of them have been completely completed. And
I'm not. What I'm doing, honestly, is I'm taking full advantage of Skyrim trainers. So with
that's a good point.
This guy, I created him as a warrior, immediately got him into the companions quest line. Once you get into the companions, everybody in the companions is a trainer practically.
Of some sort.
Yeah, so you can train one-handed, two-handed, heavy armor, blocking, all of that stuff. Aella
bow.
does ranged weapons. So in the case of Chester, what I did with him is, went to Atheist and got 5 levels of one-handed training, right? And when you're at low level, 5 levels gets you almost all the way to the next level.
Yeah.
So then I went out and I did a quest, or I went down and built a piece of armor, got another level. So as soon as I went up a character level, I went straight back to Jorvaskr, found another trainer doing something that I needed, trained 5 more levels, and now I was halfway to the next level again.
Okay.
Did another adventure. So what I've been doing with him is basically following the companion's quest line, but always coming back home again after that quest is done, before I embark on the next one, and then taking full advantage of the trainers that are there for me.
So the time spent doing things like weapon improvements and smithing and things like that, how much does that play into leveling up?
Early on, it can help quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets more difficult the higher level you get, just because it doesn't give you as much.
Yep.
It takes more, but
but if
early
you're
on,
if you're doing something like the companions quest line and stuff, you're probably making enough coin to be able to afford some raw materials, plus you're gathering them up along the way. So one of the things that I like to do, and I did this again with Chester, was, got all 5 of the training levels that I could, say at level 4, which put me almost all the way to level 5. Then just for practice, took up my armor and weapons and went out into the Tundra and raided 2 of the 3 bandit camps, which are in close proximity to Whiterun. So I went and cleaned out, Silent Moon Camp and Halted Stream Camp, which allowed me to finish out that level, but allowed me to also stockpile a bunch of gear and also a bunch of furs. Took it all back, got my next 5 levels in training, and then went to the smith, made it all into leather. Of course, I'm all gathering up smithing levels.
I think the Halted Stream too. That's got all the mining in it that you can get all that ore. And actually, there's mining. There's smithing equipment in there as well, so you can pound out a bunch of stuff there too.
Yeah.
But
now, granted, with Chester, my goal was to level as quickly as I possibly could, because I was testing a lot of different things with him. But it's very easy. to kind of fold all of those activities into your story if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to launch immediately into going to Halted Stream Camp just to
Right.
get the loot, but you can make it part of your mission as a companion to go and do this thing, right?
And too, with I don't take advantage of the trainers as much. If it makes sense and I know they're there and I have the gold to support it, I will.
Yeah.
But I don't go and look for them. I don't think I've used them as much as you have. But a point of interest on the trainers is they're not a one and done thing.
Okay.
So you get your up to 5 levels as much as you can afford, and then once you gain a level, you can go back to them and get 5 more.
See, and I haven't done that.
And you can keep
I've made
doing
the
that.
wrong assumption that I've used up all their smarts.
No. Every time you level up, you can go back to them and regain 5 more levels in whatever they train to a point.
Yeah.
You get to a point. I don't know. They all differ a little bit on their experience. So you'll eventually get to a point where you know as much, or they won't train
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
So it's the trainers basically come in 3 different levels. So some of the trainers can train you as high as level 50. Then the expert trainers can train you as high as 75. And I think the master trainers can get you up to either 90 or 95. They can train you up to 90 or 95.
Where are these mythical people?
They're everywhere. They're all over Skyrim.
They are.
So,
They really are.
But there is a huge concentration of warrior-focused
And the
trainers
companions.
in Whiterun, and mage-focused.
Mage in the Mage College in Winterhold.
Yeah, you can do the
Okay.
same
Of the
thing at the
different
Mage
schools.
College.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, smiths and that kind of thing are. I don't know where they are, but I mean, like, what's her name in Whiterun?
Adrian.
I think she can train,
Yep.
can't she?
Adrian Avanici can train you.
And how about-
she's I think level 50 trainer.
How about Skyforge?
No, Yorlin Greymane
Oh yeah, he doesn't.
cannot train. But if you want a master smithing trainer, the guy up in Markarth who's inside Understone Keep or whatever, he's the master smithing trainer.
Oh, okay.
If you go up there. But yeah, every skill in the game has
Has a trainer.
has at least one or more trainers.
Right.
You just have to have enough coin to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, it does cost, and of course, the higher level you become, the more expensive it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a warrior, the best place to train is in Whiterun because you have so many options there. What I like about Whiterun is, as a warrior, you can train up to level 50 with Amryn, who is a red guard who just wanders around the kind of lower town area there. Or you can train up to level 75. I think it's the expert level with Athos, who's a Dunmer, who's a member there, right?
Okay.
So a lot of times at low level, rather than going to Athos, I'll just go straight to Adrian Avanici and I'll start working on armor and stuff like that. And I'll take a look, and when Amryn happens to mosey by the front of the smith shop,
Yep.
I'll just catch up with him on the sidewalk and say, hey, can you train me? Bang, 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 at 5 levels, and back to the smith I go.
Wow.
And so he'll take care of you all the way to level 50, and then after that you can go to Athos.
Okay.
And you can also just hammer out things too at the different stations. Hammer out as many gauntlets and daggers as you can, because the ingredients or the materials are fairly cheap. And if you've already came back from the wilderness, chances are you've got a pile of pelts
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So that you can kind of build up your smithing levels pretty
Okay.
fast doing that.
Yep.
I refrain from the word spam, but you
Yeah.
can spam the smithing station in that way,
Right.
and then just sell them all off, because you're not going to make so many gauntlets that any of the smiths can't buy them.
Right,
Because they
okay.
just don't get that much for them.
Yeah, and if you're running Percus Maximus, for example, you can get a lot of mileage, especially if you go and mine Halted Stream Camp and get all that iron.
There's a lot of ore down there.
You can get a lot of mileage crafting like iron knuckles, because iron
Oh,
knuckles don't require an alternate ingredient. It's all
just-
iron.
Oh, okay.
So you can make iron knuckles without having to burn any leather strips, and then you can use your leather strips to make other items, and you can effectively increase your level output by a third if you kind of focus on the right things. Now those things are low value. So I think depending on what your focus is, sometimes it's good if you can to save a lot of that stuff, stick it in a barrel or stash it away somewhere. And then when you've got a whole bag filled with petty soul gems, use those items and enchant them and start gaining levels in enchanting. Then when you have something to enchant, then it'll also, once they're enchanted, it increases their value, so you can sell them and make a little money on them too.
Right.
So,
But just make sure you place them in a container that they're not going to get wiped out.
Yeah. And above all, I would say do it in a way that makes you feel fulfilled with the game.
Well, yeah, that's it.
You know,
because part of it up to this point has just been I'm gathering everything that I can, right? I'm still trying to make sure that I don't lose stuff, that the barrels don't get destroyed, so that I can go back and find them later on, because I don't even know what I can do, what it can be enchanted, and what can be sold. And probably the few places where I've done some training on archery, on whatever the Khajiit offer you outside, they'll buy my stuff, and then I'll spend it immediately on some sort of training, right?
Right.
So,
oh yeah, well that's the right way to do it. Lately, I've been relying much more on trainers because, from a role play perspective, I like leveling that way more than I like crafting 50 daggers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It makes a little more sense.
It feels better to me.
Right.
And it also helps to support a role play where your character isn't inadvertently forced into becoming a merchant to level.
See, and I don't think that Einar Stingandr would want to sit there at the wheel improving daggers all day long.
Exactly.
So.
No, but I could see him taking an interest in learning how to smith well.
Yeah.
Right. So he may go to the smith and use the training option and then make a few things for practice, as opposed to,
Making them to sell.
spamming daggers.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one way to do it. The other thing too is that in some quest lines, for example, you get opportunities to actually go on quests with people who are trainers. And I love that opportunity as well. So in the companions, for example, the first mission you go on, Farkas is your shield brother, and he's a trainer in heavy armor. And that's Dustman's Cairn is a fairly significant dungeon crawl. So I went into Dustman's Cairn halfway between levels, I would say. But during that adventure, there were two opportunities for me to have him train me right on the spot, like in the dungeon as we were moving along.
Cool.
So we beat back a bunch of bad guys, gathered up some stuff. I went up a level, and I just turned to him and said, "Hey man, can you train me?" And bang, 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 up, 5 more levels in heavy armor.
Wow.
But the way that I role play that, right, is, hey, I'm going here with my shield brother. He is obviously higher level than I am, and he's teaching me the ropes.
Right.
And so these are the things. I'm coming out more skilled than I went in.
Right. And it makes sense.
And
that
I'm
you would.
coming out more skilled in exactly the thing that Farkas is a good
Right.
trainer at, right? Which makes sense.
This
Logically.
sounds like every performance review I've ever had. Don't hesitate to ask for help.
So
Oh,
trainers,
no, you're doing just fine, but
Yes.
you're not asking people for
trainers
help.
are a good resource for leveling.
Yes.
As far as playing through the game, I guess, just in general gameplay, some nights are better than others. I mean, sometimes you just wander and you don't come across anything. And
Yeah.
if you really want to hit a lot of bears and wolves, go to Riften. I've never seen a wilderness area so ridden with wolves, bears, and creatures of all sort.
Yeah.
God, I can't get anywhere near that city without getting attacked at least 3 or 4 different times.
Yeah. That's the way it is.
But
Yeah, it's pretty thick with them.
And you have to wander a long way to do something with the pelts and everything?
well, it depends on where you get them. But if you're heading to Riften, for example, you can dump them off there.
Sure.
They've got a station where you can deal with all that stuff.
Yep. Any major city.
And even a lot of the smaller ones, but the major ones for sure. So Solitude.
Are there better places to sell?
Not particularly.
So, I mean, you're not going to be in Whiterun and make 5 more supplements there.
No.
The only exception might be, if you were running a mod like trade routes or something that messed with the system of
values,
of economics.
Sure.
Right.
But I don't think that would have. I don't believe that would have a huge effect on furs. I think it would have probably more of effect on things like ore and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but I don't know for sure. I haven't used that mod extensively, but
magic can be tough to level.
Yeah, if you want to be a high level mage, you absolutely have to use a trainer. I just don't. I think personally, I think that right there is the reason that a lot of people. I think that's what we saw Alistair doing, right? Where he started as a mage, but he got frustrated because he wasn't leveling anything and having trouble staying alive. And by default, he ended up going to the bow and going to the sword because it was the only way he could stay alive because he was always running out of magic reserves, right?
Well, I even find that myself with Ienaraths. I use the crossbow quite frequently with her.
Yeah, even though you're at level 51.
My magic is good. Actually, with her, she doesn't do a lot of destruction magic. She's been doing a little more lately, but her big thing is conjuration.
Yeah.
She summons her allies.
Yeah.
And then stands back.
Yeah.
When she went to defeat, is it Morkai? I'm not sure the pronunciation. Morkei.
Dragon Priest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting to him was a bugger. Crawling through that dungeon, through all those Draugr lords and overlords, and it was brutal. If I hadn't gotten that staff from Sanguinari,
really,
that staff has been a blessing ever since I grabbed it.
Oh, so you're summoning Dremora.
I'm summoning Dremora, and because of the conjuration trees and perks I have, I can conjure 2 of them.
Okay.
So I throw 2 of them bad boys out there. They go in, they just wipe everything out.
Wow.
And,
but those guys, I mean, even though they're Dremora, they have a difficult time with. I mean, Death Lords are tough, and Overlords are, so that's quite a matchup.
Yeah, I'll throw them in there, and I'll just boot far away until everyone settles down, or they're all dead, one of the two, and then I'll do it all over. But getting to that Dragon Priest was really difficult, but. This particular time dealing with it, okay, so in that particular setup, they've got the 2 dudes that are like in that mesmerized state, keeping them trapped in the magic bubble. Yeah. So I stood in the doorway, and I could line both of them up, and I bam, hit them both with my crossbow, dropped them because I got sneak surprise and all that good stuff. Yep. And then that freed up Dragon Priest. And I hit him with a couple bow shots from the doorway, so I didn't even have to engage him directly. Wow. But getting there was a bugger. Yeah. There's no way this character would go in there in melee combat. Right.
I think the thing that is so difficult about Draugr is that they... especially the Death Lords. I mean, they can take a lot of punishment, and they can
a lot of hit points.
Dish out a lot of punishment.
Correct.
And barrows are such tight and enclosed spaces that more often than not, there's nowhere to run to, and you can't get around them. Yeah. So you're forced to stand and fight, or just keep running so far back the way you've already come.
Progress.
Yeah, you lose all your progress, and you're coming back again. Right. So. That's one of the things that I find most challenging about the barrows, as opposed to, say, the Dwemer ruins. There's generally more room to maneuver in the Dwemer ruins.
Yeah, and if you do get into that big open cavern, you're going to get surrounded. Yeah. So that's you can't win there either.
Yep, absolutely.
But on the plus side, you can level on it. That's what we're talking.
When you summon other people, do you get?
I'll get experience applied towards my conjuration.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not as much as I'd like it to be, but magic can be difficult. I think because you only get experience applied, if it's used, I mean, in that way. So I can't just summon things for just to follow me around.
Right.
It actually has to defeat something or be in combat. And I can't just blast a tree with a firebolt and level up.
So I think that's one of the reasons, like you're saying, that you default to a weapon warrior character, because at that point, I can see some of the progress through the levels.
Yes.
That's what I think I will probably do, is to go back and work on Einar Stingandr in that way, and then come back down through and find out, can I then build up with either Whelp or whatever, some of the other Magicka components on another character, because at least then I will have understood the mechanics a bit of what does it mean to go through and talk to the trainers and go back to them.
Right.
And, what do I need to do from smithing? Because right now it's still hit or miss. And so
now the other thing that you can do is, in Skyrim, there are a few areas which are kind of little leveling Easter eggs. There's 3 of them that I can think of right now. And so one of those we've talked about before. That's Angie's Camp.
Yep, I was
down
thinking about
in Falkreath Hold. You can go up there and get 6 or 7 levels in archery. If you go there, she will train you. And then there's also a leveling book there that, if you haven't read it already, will give you another level. It's inside the shack that she lives in.
It's on one of the tables.
Something like the Gold Ribbon of Merit, or something like that it's called. But you can get a level there. The other one, which I think a lot of people miss, is the Bard College quest line. If you finish the Bard College quest line and then actually go to the ceremony where they burn King Olaf One Eye in effigy, right, as part of that ceremony, once that's complete, a number of the professors in the Bard College become people that you can get quests from. There are 3 different quests, which are basically just fetch quests. I think you're getting a book for one person and a stolen lute for another person, and I don't know, maybe a flute for someone else. I don't know. But when you finish those, I think at the close of each one of those, that person will reward you by giving you 1 level in all the skills in a category.
Wow.
So I want to say, but it's a sizable leveling opportunity.
Oh, which, speaking of categories, there's the dude way up north.
Yeah, that's the 3rd Easter egg, the Ogma Infinium
that's what
quest.
It is.
Yes, and that one is you're going way up into the Ghost Sea, and you're finding Septimus Sigmus, who is a hermit up there. You can do a little mission for him, which allows you to obtain the Daedric artifact, the Ogma Infinium. It's a book. Once you open that book and read it, it allows you to get 5 levels in whichever category you choose. So you know how when you start the game, you can go to the Guardian Stones and you can pick Thief, Mage, or Warrior. So with the Ogma Infinium, you can, if you pick Warrior, for example, it'll give you 5 levels in all the Warrior skills, or 5 levels in all the Thief skills, or 5 levels in all the Mage skills. You have to pick one category, but you'll get a bunch of levels out of it that way too.
Which is a really good thing if you've maxed out all the trainers and you're almost there.
Yeah, that is a lot.
This will bring you up close to 100 in whatever category.
Those last 5 levels are really a bitch to get, because they take forever.
If you time it right, it can be a real boon.
So hold on to that last one.
Yeah, well, I think especially hold on to it if you're a mage. Train as high as you possibly can as a mage, and then do Ogma Infinium for mage skills and get those last things to top it off. That'll get you to, at least 98 or 99, something close, right? And then you get the rest over time.
And when I was running Guild Starter with a previous Dunmer character, Rovosi, he created a guild in the Cardinal, the ship. So that's where his base was.
The Northern Cardinal
Cardinal mod.
Okay.
That was his home mod. And I actually recruited several of the college mage trainers.
That's
So
the way to do it.
I recruited the
there.
trainers, and now they were all in my guild, so I could go to them, and I knew exactly where they'd be. And that worked out pretty well, too.
Yeah.
And in that particular
great point.
character, because he was destruction magic heavy, it made sense to recruit
Okay,
those mages.
who were you recruiting mages then from the mage college? Is that what you did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's cool.
Yep. I never finished out his storyline, but yeah.
Well, then let's talk about, there's one other thing we can talk about here too, which is leveling rate, the rate at which you level. So early on as a low level character, generally I recommend that people go and grab one of those guardian stones because that gives you a 20% boost in your leveling rate. The other thing that's kind of interesting to do is you can do the Ethereum Wars quest line
That's a fun
from
quest.
the Dawn Guard DLC.
Okay.
And at the end of that quest line, you find the Ethereum Forge, and you have the option to make one of 3 items. There is an item there called, it's referred to as the Crown. And the power of the Crown is that it allows you to have 2 standing stone powers at the same time.
Oh.
So if you are playing a mage, you take the Guardian Stone, and then you go up to kind of the far, I guess it would be, I'm trying to think of a map here, western end up into the Reach, and you'll find the Lover's Stone. Take the Lover's Stone as your second, which gives you a 15% level buff. You add those together. Now, as long as you're wearing the crown, you're getting a 35% leveling buff, right?
Wow.
So that is another way that you can handle things, right? And that the nice thing about that is that's a crown you can take on and off as needed. You wouldn't need to wear it all the time.
Right.
And the one thing that I would definitely suggest is if you care about stuff like this, take the mod Easy's Disenchanter, which allows you to disenchant pretty much every item in game. Typically, that crown is something that in the vanilla game you can't disenchant, but this will allow you to disenchant that.
And then you can put it on anything
And
I
then
want.
you can put it on anything. So I've had characters where I've taken that enchantment and just put it on a straight up headband.
Right.
You know, and the headband looks right with his outfit, but it gives me the buff, the leveling buff,
Right.
and it doesn't look asinine.
In addition to,
Yeah.
that's a fairly lengthy quest.
Right.
So you're gonna get some levels just
Yes.
Just by
completing the
getting through
quest.
Okay.
Right. Where does that kick off again? What is that
Well,
rune?
what it actually kicks off by reading the Ethereum Wars book.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you find one of those.
Yeah, and then once you have the book, that gives you, I think, a map marker which takes you to your first location.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but-
I've not done anything that gives me new map markers other than walking there.
Well, there are some books
Or
in
running,
game that
or
give
riding
you
horses.
map markers.
Yep.
So
I might not have found those yet.
no. Well, I mean,
I have a crap ton of books. Every book I have. I've got it.
you start a library.
Multiple copies. Yeah, I need to buy a building and build a library that's nothing but shelves.
yeah. Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of in the same boat with my current.
And then I can
character, too.
adopt that kid in town and have them alphabetize it.
There you go.
So, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about here, pretty much all of it is just pretty much vanilla leveling stuff.
Right.
I don't think we've talked about anything here that's exclusively mod related.
No.
There are
Really.
some things like Winter Mist enchantments,
Yep.
which has some enchantments in it. You can put enchantments on it that impact your leveling ability.
Okay.
So maybe give you a 3% or a
Right.
5% buff on leveling.
But all that
Things like
stuff,
that, but-
when you aggregate everything together and you don't see that you've got that opportunity to level up faster, I mean, once you've gone to the Guardian Stones, it's entirely possible that on the first time through that I was not using the right guardian stone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no. Maybe I should
Absolutely.
walk back up there and change.
That's
You
what
can.
one thing I will
Yeah.
say that I
Yep.
did with Chester is immediately I gave him the warrior stone, and I realized at that time that it has actually been a long time since I bothered to take one of those guardian stones for any character. The way I've been playing lately, I've been so focused on role playing that I've decided not to take any of those, and I've taken other stones that I felt like were more interesting to me.
Right.
So I've got
How
some
many
other
are there in
fallbacks.
total?
Oh, that's
boy.
a really good question. I
I
don't know.
off the top of my head. I tend to like the Lord Stone a lot and the Lady Stone a lot. Those are a couple of my favorites. The Steed Stone is a good one too because it increases your carry capacity, as well as making the armor you're wearing essentially weightless.
Okay.
You know, for mobility, it's a great one. The Lord Stone I like because I want to say that one gives you a buff on melee damage and magic resistance. And the Lady Stone gives you regen bonuses, I think, on stamina and health. Gosh, I can't remember.
Which one?
The Lady Stone.
Oh,
The Lady Stone is about
know.
regen buffs, but I can't remember if it's stamina, health, magicka, or some combination thereof. I don't remember. And of course, the Ritual Stone is fun too if you're playing Necromancer.
which is the one that I have.
Yeah, which is bad ass. That one.
It can be. Yeah. You can,
Exactly.
at the right time, you
Yeah.
can raise an army damn near.
Yeah, that one basically allows you once per day to resurrect all the dead bodies in a radius around your character. So if you're in the midst of a big battle and then kick that thing off, now you've got instant army.
13.
13 stones.
According to
Okay.
the Elder Scrolls wiki page, there are
13.
a total of 13 stones dotted across the land.
I realized recently that there is one stone that I have not even seen yet, that I've never seen it.
You
one's that?
haven't seen something?
I can't remember which one it was now, but I remember looking through saying, oh my God, I don't think I've ever actually laid my eyes on that one before.
Well, fortunately, I can list them out for you.
Okay.
There
Lay it on
is
me.
the warrior, the thief, the mage,
Those are your guardian stones.
the lover.
Got it.
Lover, all skills increase 15% faster.
That's the one I was talking about,
That's the lover.
pairing
Okay.
up on that crown.
The apprentice stone,
That one I've seen.
the atronach stone,
Wait a second now, the Atronach.
50 extra points of magicka, 50% absorb spells, minus 50% magicka regen.
Okay.
The lady stone, and that regenerates health and stamina.
Okay, yeah.
The lord stone, the ritual stone, the serpent stone,
Got it.
the shadow stone, the steed stone, and the tower stone.
The Tower Stone, that's the one that I've never seen it.
Unlock any expert level lock or lower once per day.
Oh, God, that'd be nice sometime. You know,
I still break lockpicks on
Yeah.
like
Oh,
intermediate.
I do too.
Yeah.
Although I only just recently took a point in dexterity, so
Right.
otherwise I didn't have any, so I was breaking a lot of picks.
Man,
Actually, I was doing surprisingly well, all things considered. But
I love the stones. I think that
you heard it here. Stu likes to get stoned.
yeah. That's the truth.
That's the truth.
Every toke you take gives Keith Richards another year of life.
Right. How does that work?
Another day, maybe. How about another day? I think he's about 146.
Something like that.
No, he only looks like it.
He looks like the undead. He looks like a dronker.
Oh no.
What was I going to say? Oh, I've been the more I'm playing, the more I'm seeing kind of new and interesting uses for different stones, right?
Sure.
The Lord Stone, I love it for a character that is primarily a warrior, and most often I take it because of the great buff on magic resistance. For a character who's going to just run headlong into mages, you gotta, that's a nice
Right.
thing to have, right?
Right.
But I've been finding a lot of uses lately for the Lady Stone, which has become by far my favorite, that health and stamina regeneration.
Oh, yeah.
The stamina regen has been great for kind of my archer ranger characters, where in doing a lot of bow work and doing a lot of running cross country.
Right.
That stamina regen is incredible. The other thing that I like about the health regen, which has been kind of unexpected, has come when playing, these mages, like we were talking about, playing a mage that's really health focused rather than magicka focused.
Sure.
When I'm using equilibrium, right? And I'm draining my health to rebuild my magicka.
Right.
Having that super high health regen is great. And the thing I like about that formula is typically with a mage, I've always felt like, damn it, I'm investing in this huge magicka pool and I burn through it so fast.
Seems like
and
it.
then when it's gone, I'm literally nearly helpless. Like I've got no
pretty
health,
much.
right?
Yep.
What this formula is allowing me to do is I'm dumping almost all of my health points, all of my level points into health. And I'm investing in health rather than magicka to the tune of 2 to 1. I don't invest at all in stamina. I put 2 points in health for every 1 point in magicka, and then I use equilibrium to draw on my health reserve to boost my magicka when I need it. And it's turned out to just be really an amazing tool.
Cool.
Right? The thing I like about it too is because I'm so focused, I'm able to get a massive health pool because I'm not distributing all of my points across all 3 of those attributes so much, right? I'm really totally focused on health. And because it's health, I'm able to take better advantage of things like armor. So this is an armor-wearing mage wearing armor with health boosting and health regen boosting properties.
Sure.
It's turned into kind of an amazing combination, but what I like about it is it gives you a really deep pool of magicka when you need it, but still gives you the flexibility to use a sword when you're bored or when you need a change, right? You can be a very effective sword wielder this way.
Right.
So
I'm doing something similar with Ienaraths in that through the Winter Mist enchants.
Okay.
I have a tendency to spend her points either on mostly magicka and sometimes stamina. I have spent very little on her health.
Okay.
But I've enchanted several things that kind of do a cross buff. So they'll take a percentage of magicka, add it to health, and a percentage of health to magicka, and they'll build on each other. So I get more of all because I've mixed and matched these different enchantments between
I've
health,
used that
stamina,
before, too.
and
that is amazing. I love that. enchant.
It's kind of it's not as on demand as what you're doing, but it's kind of helps level everything out.
Oh, for sure.
Now she's still dominantly magic, but she's not completely horrid in any of the others either because of the transfers.
So if you think about that enchantment, basically what that enchantment is saying is it's going to take, for example, 10% of
your base health
and
add it to
your magicka, and 10% of your base magicka and add it to your health.
Correct.
So in that scenario where you have a massive pool of health to the tune of 400 or 450 points, right? Versus a lower magicka number. Imagine, 10% of that 450 being added in to your base magicka,
and then take another
awfully nice buff.
10% of that smaller magicka and add it back to the health, which gives it even more.
That's great.
So, and I've combined it with another mod, and I don't know the name off the top of my head, that allows me to wear rings and amulets.
Okay.
That one you got to be a little self-governing on, because you can literally equip an infinite amount of rings and amulets.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
to me, it makes sense that I could wear more than
Hard
one.
to hold anything when your
Well,
fingers are
yeah, you know,
It's basically gauntlets.
I can see a person wearing more than one necklace, or maybe taking the key point and having almost like this charm necklace
Mr. T kind of.
thing. And I can certainly see having at least 10 rings, one for each finger. But you gotta, like I say, you gotta be a little self-governing and what makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm able to put on a few different rings to do that kind of cross-population. But so we kind of got sidetracked from the leveling a little bit.
I think
Not very much,
But
though. I mean, you just
think we
think about
covered a
all the
lot.
things that are additive. I'm thinking about the early stage stuff that I can do to start feeling more successful as a character to get through
Well,
gameplay. You
yeah.
guys are taking advantage of a lot of the leveling up opportunities for role play,
Right.
which I think is sort of the graduate level of understanding what
So,
the heck's going on in Skyrim.
You know, I would for your characters, you know, I would say don't focus on how many open quests you have, but take up a lot of the side quests and do some of these smaller ones, because they will add up pretty fast. You'll gain your one-handed or two-handed, your blocking, light armor.
And those I see coming
That
up as
kind of thing.
I'm fighting, right?
Right. So, and then there's going to be all of the just ancillary things of running into, you know, a bear or, you know, the wolves or skeevers, that kind of stuff. That's just going to kind
I know
of
that there were a couple of times when I had leveled up and then I was immediately slaughtered by something else, and I went back a save and lost my level.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that
that's-
sucks.
That was not
Yeah.
fun.
So you got to redo.
Yeah.
I
But,
think what's nice about starting to add mods into the mix is it helps kind of even out where you're acquiring some of these levels from. So in the vanilla game, you know, you kill a bear, you take the pelt, you drag it all the way back to the nearest smithing station, and then you get some smithing points out of it.
Right.
What I really like about mods, for example, like Hunterborn, it'll start giving you levels for doing the skinning. You're learning how to skin an animal.
Right.
You're learning how to prepare the meat. You're learning how to harvest things from this creature, whatever it is.
Right.
And you're gaining levels in Wayfarer and stuff like that as you're doing it.
Right.
So rather than having this scenario, right, where, you know, butchering an animal in the wild for food or otherwise it's a skill.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's a skill.
Yeah.
And to have that all come down to something happening at the smithing station just seems weird.
And you get better at it the more you do it. And
Yeah.
you get more
Right.
things from the animal. You're not wasting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Careful though, because you can actually burden yourself unknowingly if you decide you're going to butcher all this meat, and all of a sudden you're down to a snail's pace, and you happen to look in your inventory and realize that you have like 70 pounds of bear meat or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bear brains.
And bear meat's so greasy too. It's just so greasy.
Takes so long to cook it down.
Yeah. I know, I do the same thing. Typically what I'm role playing when I'm doing something like Hunterborn is I'm, you know, field dressing the animal typically, and I'm skinning it and I'm taking the ingredients. And then if I butcher the animal and I actually take the meat, then I will dispose of the carcass.
Right.
If I choose not to take the meat, I just let the carcass lie and assume that nature's going to take its course and the scavengers are going to come.
Right.
And that's kind of been my practice, because you get attacked so often in this game that you can't, I mean, no one could possibly preserve or eat all that meat, right?
Who's going to
It's just
carry it
so
halfway across the
much.
continent so they could sell it?
And I'm sorry, I'm not going to eat the troll meat. I'm just not going to do it.
Or the spider meat.
Or the spider, the spider meat. Again with the spider meat. Or the chorus meat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no thanks.
No, give me the venom, and that's about all I want out of that.
Have you had an occasion at low level where you've used Hunterborn to try to take the venom from a frostbite spider and actually gotten bit in the process? Like
No.
you've like
You
failed.
accidentally stabbed yourself
Yeah.
with their fang?
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened.
Really?
Seriously?
Yeah, where Hunter-born,
Oops.
I bent down and
Approach
got
from a different side.
Yeah, it says take the venom. And so I reached down to
Okay.
take the venom and obviously failed a check or whatever and got stung
Oh.
and hit by the effects, right? And then Hunterborn will tell me you've been poisoned.
No, I haven't had that happen. I like that.
But then
though.
later on, it'll tell me, okay, you're learning how to do this. And the next time I do it without getting pricked, right? It's just
It's
very
It's a
interesting.
nice little touch. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I didn't know if that happened to anybody else. But
No, I hadn't had that happen.
it happened to me with a spider, and it's happened to me once with a chorus. The first time I tried to
Oh, and
extract
Taurus venom is actually
the
really
venom from a chorus.
potent.
Yeah, it's nasty.
So,
But
that's funny.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that's a good start for me.
yeah. Lot to
So
do.
yeah, just keep chugging through. Take the smaller quests and all that good stuff.
I think it would be kind of interesting at some point. I don't know if you can export characters or whatever. I would love to have you guys play Einar Stingandr for a week and see what happens.
That would be fun.
next time we come back.
There is a possibility.
If you give us your saved game, we can load it up on our machines and play them. And then we could return them to you.
I don't want you to return things to me other than to see what happens when you actually know what you're doing. Right, so this is what would happen if we were doing racing games, right? You guys would hand me all of your, and I'd
Well, now-
go through and I'd race, and
I would.
Would we strip down to a vanilla install or just run it as
Well,
just out of? It's more of a
this is just a
No.
general question, because
Out of
if you were
curiosity.
playing my character with no mods, you'd still level up gobs faster than I would.
no. I think the thing to do is, if we get Matt's saved game, he's playing in vanilla, so his game will work on ours.
right.
But our subsequent saved games will have all of
not.
our
Yeah, it'll have
mod
all
information.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to play our versions eventually.
No,
What I would be interested to know
but-
is,
but I don't think he
regardless
really
of the
wants
way-
to.
No.
I would just be interested to know, over the span of you playing a character for a few hours in a week, what does that yield for you if everyone starts from the same place?
That
That's
would be
actually an interesting experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely return him to you fully clothed. That's what I would do.
Didn't say what kind of clothes.
That's true.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. The Emperor's new clothes.
Yeah, but no, I think that would be an interesting experiment. I've always been intrigued by that. Like, there have been a few times when I've gotten saved games from Joe, and I've brought them into my gameplay to take high-res screenshots and do different things like that. And I've always taken opportunities to play around with them a little bit. You gave me a save game for Grimal before. And it wasn't until I was actually running around playing as Grimal that I realized that, orcs make completely different sounds in combat and all this stuff. Like, I had been playing, Nords and Bretons and Elves for so long that I never realized that, and I'm like, what's this? Oh, wow, it's an orc. Like, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
It's like disc golfing with me.
So yeah,
Guerrilla
to
golfing.
to your point, yes, we can do that.
Absolutely.
We probably should. That I like that
sometime.
idea.
Well, guys, I think we better put a fork in this segment. We
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, we've been long at it.
Fork
so,
it.
All right, it's Crusader mail time. Joe, what do we have tonight?
Well, tonight I have selected a submission by Thoralax from England, running on a PC with mods. Yay! Submits how to come up with ideas. My ideas usually end up being similar paths of roleplay, with my characters being an assassin and I lose interest with the thief because I seem to steal all the things. I have made mini characters, but go straight to their goal and motivation for my character goes. So how do I extend my roleplay past their main goal and add extra to my playthrough? Basically, it sounds like Thoralax is kind of almost a little too focused. He's
Playing the game.
He's having a tough time because he's hitting the main quest lines and then he finishes them right away and doesn't know where to go from there. So
Okay.
it seems like he needs some ideas on how to stretch out his experience.
How to stretch it out.
Well, if starting off and getting through the quest lines is important as it has been for me in the beginning. That's great. Stretching it out, I think, is, again, like we were mentioning in the other segment, it's stepping past that. It's not just achieving the end. It's what are you doing on the way there? What are you gaining?
Right.
What are you getting? Who are you meeting?
Right.
Where are you going?
Right.
Are there reasons to go to other places? You know, is it more than just finishing the quest? Maybe you want to finish the quest as a level 50. You won't allow yourself to finish until you get to a particular level, or you have to do it, you know, maybe it's with a particular weapon, or who knows.
I think what Matt said is actually key there, the word reasons. You have to know what your reasons are for doing things, which means that sort of implies a certain level of established character background and motivation. And I think once you understand the character's motivation and personality, these things will just fall in your lap.
Right. So and that was kind of my thought too, was, you know, build your character, and don't just build a character in game to play the game, but create a character and give it some life.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to establish kind of all these peripheral things that we talk about, on various episodes, and, you know, give your character some interest. You know, why are they there?
Yeah.
What are they doing? Why are they pursuing the Assassin's Guild? Why are they? Why do they want to become a thief?
Yeah.
What's their background? Maybe they grew up in that rat way. I don't know, but
Yeah.
And we didn't hear anything about what kind of character this is, or male, or female, or old, or young, or any of that.
He mentioned that he tends to default to playing assassin-type characters.
right.
If there's something about that hints at his preferred play style, then that's okay. I think there are ways to incorporate that / get around that. But I think what I would recommend is go back and listen to our episode on the circles of character conflict,
I agree.
and then go back and listen to our episode with Alistair on character vulnerability, and think about your character from those perspectives. So if your character is an assassin, why are they an assassin? Not just because they're good at killing. Take it beyond that. Why are they good at killing? Why are they able to kill? Why does the act of killing people not bother them, or does it bother them, and why? And I think when you start thinking about those things, you're going to answer for yourself those key questions that'll help drive whether or not your character is going to do certain things. Or take on a particular challenge. Like, look at a couple of things in game that could be exact opposites, right? One is, for example, assassinating the emperor juxtaposed with doing something like the Agent of Mara quest line, where the entire focus of that quest line is to help people who are in love kind of find their freedom in that relationship,
Right.
or in that experience of love, right? How could I create a character who both of those things would be viable for?
Right.
And I think by default, you're going to come up with a richer, more complex character that'll naturally draw you into new stuff. That would be my thought.
You know, and I'm going to circle back to our characters that we started with tonight.
Yeah.
I read several paragraphs about my particular character,
Which were great, by the way.
which helps me establish who she is. You know, you don't need to go into great depth unless you really want to. For me, it's turned out to be an unplanned enjoyment. I really did not start those journals thinking that I was going to get that far into them and really spend, half of my gameplay sitting at the keyboard typing at a book in game.
And what I like is that you're doing it for you, but as you're reading it to us, the development that comes with that character because of that is so much better.
It really has. It's helped me understand and play the character, and it helps me weave these different quests, these different storylines together. It gives me a reason why did I do the mages. gives me a reason. Why do I want to go do the assassins?
Yeah.
Why would I do the Thieves Guild? Well, because there's skills there I can use. You know, it helps me pull all those together, and I probably would not have gotten to that point or had this much fun and interest in the character without all of that. So
Yeah.
And that's
again,
what,
you
but
don't
you can
need
be
to
really
do that.
successful in the game.
But it's one method.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying you can be really successful in the game and
Yeah.
achieve the objectives of the game,
Right.
and still not feel like you're developing a character. And I would say that that's how I've been for the first several months of playing.
So-
you just want to know mechanics, you want to finish it, you want to level up, you want to get enough
Right.
gold, you want to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting around the table with you guys, and you realize that the depth of the character makes the role play so much more rich because you do have
really
a
changes
reason.
the game. It really does. And so
But you're making
I guess,
decisions like that character, not decisions as the player.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So it's it's a kind of a slow down moment. Don't play the game to play the game to try to finish it.
Yeah, I think it's an investment of time, in either thought up front or time spent writing things down. I mean, Joe, you've essentially written 20 pages.
Yeah,
And so
pretty much.
you've written 20 pages of content on your character, but I am guessing there's no moment of that time you would consider to have not been fun or fulfilling or
absolutely
enjoying,
not.
right? So it's basically taking the time to figure out what the basic psychological profile is, if you will,
Right.
of your character and what
Right.
drives them to do certain things. You have to be equipped with that going in so that you can understand what a character would do in different situations. And like we've talked about many, many times, you're leaving the door open and allowing the game to guide you along. And so, you know what? When the time comes to jump into the next segment of the Dark Brotherhood quest line, just say, damn it, I'm not going to do it. I'm tired. I've been working hard. I'm going to go back to my house and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to decompress and think about what my next move is and see what happens on your way there.
Right. Yeah.
And just
absolutely.
let things unfold.
So
Right?
from a reference standpoint, you were mentioning which earlier episodes might help with that.
Yeah.
Episode 5 was weaknesses and limitations.
Weaknesses and limitations, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
Yep. 15 was our conversation with Alistair.
Another very good one.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one was
The circles of character conflict.
That would have been pretty early.
is number 8.
Number 8. Yeah. Okay.
So a little hopping around there a little bit, but again, I think that speaks volumes to some of the challenges that I was running into. If you just look over the order that we've been going through some of these, well, gosh, what's the new guy having trouble with? Let's tell him for a little while and get him off our back so that we can play.
No.
No, but it works out really well because here we are, 10 episodes later than some of these things, which is just amazing to me, and we're talking about stuff that now I get, right? It's like showing up to a family reunion after you've been married for a while, and now you actually know some of these people. Now I feel like I know some of the characters that you're playing more than just in passing. Oh, well, Robard's going to do this, and Ienarath's going to do that. Now I feel like, oh, I've been in the room with those people. I know what they're like. Don't invite her to dinner.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
I guess it sounds to me like, go visit those episodes if you haven't already, or revisit them. Slow down, focus less on the game and more on the character.
Yep. Absolutely. Well put.
And give into it.
That's right.
Achieving in the game isn't the only way to feel like you're winning.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Well, good luck, Thoralax. We wish you all the best, and thank you very much for your submission. We would invite any and all of you to please submit your questions. We love checking them out. We love reading them, so feel free to do that.
If you are wondering if you should ask your question, do it. If you're not sure how to ask your question, just fill out the form and send it in. It doesn't have to be a perfectly well-formulated question. They can be simple. They can be difficult. I should probably submit a couple questions. I have not done that, but I'm grateful for everyone that has, because they're asking questions that I need to ask.
Well, thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. And remember also that if you haven't got a chance to do that, seriously think about giving us some feedback on Nim's story on the Facebook page. We're going to be looking for those submissions coming up over the next few weeks. So feel free to do that. We would love to hear from you. And that, dear listener, brings us to the end of another episode. We would like to thank fans of the show for your faithful support and continued encouragement. Your enthusiasm is the lifeblood of this podcast. And whether your support comes through Patreon with dollars or through iTunes with reviews or recommendations to friends and family, we appreciate it all. You can contact us through our website at charactercrusade.com. And until next time, remember, it's not about the objective, it's about the journey. So go forth and experience. Joe has ears like a golden retriever or something like that. Like,
He's the only one who's got the things jammed into his skull.
I know. Even when he doesn't, though, even when he doesn't have headphones on, whoa, that was loud.
Joe's a sensitive guy.
I am very sensitive.
Hang on.
No.
Yes.
The producer says hang on, so hang on, damn it.
Do it again. Santa didn't say ho, ho, ho right. Do it again, Santa.
All right.
No, that's not how I wrote it.
It's
Just read it already.
Yeah, I'm working on it.